What's going on? Welcome back to the Climb the Pocket YouTube page for another episode of Battle in the Trenches. It's Week 6 Stardom Situm edition. Welcome back to the page. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe now. You're not going to want to miss any of our content going forward. We're going to help you win your fantasy football matchups each and every single week with the starts at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end, along with the sits, the guys you should keep on your bench. We're at 950 subscribers on YouTube right now. We'd love to hit that 1,000 mark. We'd like for you to join the family. Check out our YouTube videos every week. We want you to enjoy our content. Drop comments below all your questions, fantasy football related, that don't even have to be starts and sits. We're answering every single one. We got you. We want to help you win your championships, helping your dynasty leagues, whatever. We're here for you. I'm with my co-host Ryan. As always, find him at Bootleg Fantasy on Twitter. You can find me at Steve_CTP. Ryan, what's going on, man?
So we're gonna let the viewers behind the curtain real quick. We are recording this at 6:20 Tuesday night. I have Josh Allen and AJ Brown, and I'm losing to my brother in fantasy football. That's a big priority for me to beat my brother. You know, younger brothers are the bane of your existence for your entire life. So hoping and praying that Josh Allen and AJ Brown pull it out for me. It's gonna be an uphill battle. The viewers currently that are watching this know what happened to me. So respect either my happiness or sadness in the chat. Leave a nice comment, either razzing me, knowing that they played poorly, or congratulating me on a huge dub. But aside from that, we're on to next week. We're on to, is this week 6 already?
Week 6, man. Halfway through the fantasy football season, regular season already almost. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's not great just because I don't know what to look forward to once it gets cold out and there's no fantasy football. But we are in the middle of it. We are in the most important weeks where you're gearing up to get towards that playoff push. So these start sits are important.
Yeah, definitely. We got timestamps below if you're looking for a certain player, some players on your teams. We don't care. Skip to those. Get to that advice. We understand there's a lot of fantasy football content out there, and we're here just to give you a piece, give you some insight to help you win your fantasy football matchup once again. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video and start with the start quarterbacks for Week 6. I'll go ahead and lead us off. I'm going with Big Ben versus Cleveland. Big Ben looked pretty good last week, especially making Chase Claypool look like a phenom. 4 touchdowns, not all through the air. He did have 1 rushing touchdown, but the other 3 came from Big Ben's arm, and he looked great. Juju wasn't even that heavily involved in this game, and they were still able to put up a lot of offense. So I like this next game going against Cleveland. They're not able to defend wide receivers very well at all, so I like Chase Claypool this week. I like Juju this week. If Diontae's back, I like Diontae a little bit. Eric Ebron was able to get involved, so plenty of weapons. Big Ben looks pretty good out there, so I'm excited to put him back out there for another solid fantasy day. Moving on to my second start QB. It's probably a big pickup this week in waiver wire. The name value alone probably wouldn't get it done for you, but it's the system that he's in, and that's Andy Dalton, the best backup quarterback in the league, arguably maybe Jameis Winston or something. But I'll probably go with Andy Dalton just because of the weapons that they have there in Dallas. They got CeeDee Lamb. They got Amari Cooper. They have Michael Gallup. They have Zeke Elliott. You can't ask for a better situation to come into. And Andy Dalton played pretty well when Dak Prescott went out with that gruesome injury. He's a good replacement. He's going against Arizona. Like I said, the weapons are there. CeeDee Lamb is picking it up. So I think picking up Andy Dalton and putting him right in your starting lineup if you lost Dak or if you're kind of streaming quarterbacks, I think this could be a pretty good pickup and might provide like top 10 quarterback upside the rest of the way. We'll see. I don't know exactly. I have to see a few games, but I'm putting him in right away against Arizona. Who are you starting at quarterback, Ryan?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that you talked about Ben Roethlisberger ad nauseum after he dismantled my Philadelphia Eagles. But I'm starting Kirk Cousins. Yes, Kirk Cousins against the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons have given up the second most yards through the air per game all time. Ever.
Wow.
They're behind Seattle of this year. Ever. And they are right in front of the 2012 New Orleans Saints for 400. I think they're giving up 440 passing yards a game. That's bad, and they keep getting more hurt. They just fired everybody in Atlanta. So not sure what we're gonna see. But I think Kirk Cousins is a solid play. I think he's someone you can put in your lineup with. There's a couple bye weeks this week. If you lost Dak, I think Kirk's a fine play. So I definitely like Kirk this week. And I'm starting Cam Newton. I've sat him twice so far in the 5 previous episodes, and he's burned me twice. And he's playing against Denver. And honestly, I think Cam Newton should have a little chip on his shoulder against Denver. I think Denver should have been one of the teams who was after him in the offseason. I think they would have been great with Cam Newton. That's not really a slight of Drew Lock, but I think Cam Newton's a better quarterback, and he's shown that. Obviously, he was out last week with COVID. He should be good to go. I do like Cam Newton a lot this week.
Time for those sit-em quarterbacks, guys on your bench. Who you got?
Yeah, after 3 straight games of 300 yards as a rookie, Joe Burrow had his welcome to the league game. I know they won only 1 game of those 3, but he got rocked. He was getting dismantled by a defense that is very good in Baltimore, and he's going up against another good defense in the Indianapolis Colts. So Joe Burrow, it's tough to see the growing pain last week. He might have another one this week. That doesn't mean he's not going to be a great quarterback. I'm just steering away from Burrow, especially with A.J. Green he's asking to get traded. If you saw that clip, apparently, where on the sideline where he said, "Why don't you just trade me?" or something along those lines. It's a little weird with that offense right now. Joe Burrow is trying to keep them afloat, but I don't see them winning this game. And I'm also sitting Matt Stafford against the Jaguars. The Jaguars have a very obvious game plan of controlling the ball, being efficient on offense, and that limits what Matt Stafford does. They like playing kind of a high-tempo, high-octane offense. So I don't think Matt Stafford's going to be a top 10 quarterback this week, especially if they get up early. I think they can just ride into the sunset on Adrian Peterson's 40-year-old legs.
Yeah, Matt Stafford, top 10 quarterback this week. All right, moving on to my sit-em quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield against Pittsburgh. Man, do I just love to pick on Baker Mayfield. I swear he's mentioned in every one of my quarterback sections each week before this. Go back and check me. I just don't think he's that great. Every week I keep saying it. He had a tough matchup last week, came through, had a couple of picks, but a decent amount of yardage, a couple scores. He's getting it done, but nothing too exciting. And he's going against Pittsburgh, and they're the best defense in the league. So, I'm not very excited to put Baker Mayfield in my lineup this week. He's certainly a streamer, most likely, in your league, unless it's a very deep league. So I would just look other directions for sure. Different quarterbacks this week off the waiver wire. Going to sit Teddy Bridgewater as well, going against Chicago. Last week, we predicted that Teddy Bridgewater would have a great game, and he did. He was a top 5 quarterback. Had a very good game. DJ Moore scored a touchdown. We love to see that kind of stuff. Mike Davis, another receiving touchdown, just great. Offense looked great against Atlanta because Atlanta's bad, as you mentioned, and you can predict that kind of thing. But now Teddy's going to Chicago, or they're playing against Chicago, and Chicago is a much better defense. They can get it done against Teddy, and this is going to have to be like a good game plan for the Panthers to be able to win this game. I think Chicago's a little better than people think. Their record certainly shows it, but some people will say their record's a little fraudulent. I think they have a good defense. They came to play this year, and it's going to be a tough matchup for Teddy Bridgewater. So, like I said, I'm going to look for a different streaming option this week. Let's go ahead and move on to those starting running backs. And Dalvin Cook is going to miss this week and possibly next week with a groin injury. And Alex Mattison, hopefully you got him. If you're a Dalvin Cook owner, you're sliding him right in your lineup. Dude had a lot of volume once Dalvin Cook went out, got up over 100 yards, and he's going against Atlanta. Man, Atlanta. Play all your players against Atlanta. Their defense is bad. Their team is in shambles. Put Alex Mattison right in your lineup. They're at home, so they're going to kill it. Alex Madison's getting a lot of volume right in your lineup. RB2, solid. My second start, RB, Antonio Gibson against the Giants. I got burned last week. Antonio Gibson came through. Tough to predict. But going against the Giants, nothing to be too afraid about. They are decent against the run, but I like Antonio Gibson. I like his role. It's growing in this offense. He's certainly seeing the touches around the goal line. The team's going to keep going to him. He's seeing over 10 attempts per game, every game. So I just like this to keep going up and up. And against the New York Giants, I think this is going to be a sneaky, not shootout, but there's going to be points scored in this game, and I think Antonio Gibson is going to be a big part of it. Who are you starting running back?
Old friend of the show, Ron Jones.
Oh,
Against your Green Bay Packers. The coach speak from Arians was actually true in the beginning of the year, where he said Ronald Jones is the guy. Granted, Fournette has been hurt, but I don't think that Fournette just walks into a larger role anytime soon. Jones looked pretty good. What was it, Thursday night against the Bears? I mean, is he an elite talent? No, but he gets the job done, and he's more, I guess he's more able to fit into a Tom Brady offense, where Leonard Fournette doesn't really. I mean, Leonard Fournette's like the Sony Michel of the offense, where I know he caught a bunch of passes last year, but I don't see him as that type of guy. I think Ronald Jones does things better in the passing game than Leonard Fournette, and that's weird to think of when last year there was the videos of Ronald Jones not being able to make catches, and like the training videos of him running routes, and they weren't that great, but he looked pretty solid in the passing game. So I'm definitely starting Ron Jones this week. I'm also starting Myles Gaskin against the New York Jets. I think this is finally the game that the Jets get rid of Adam Gase. It has to be, right? Like, there's
the
no
Dolphins got to be.
Like, if they lose to the Dolphins, they're done with Adam Gase.
I mean, they're for sure gonna lose to the Dolphins. The Dolphins just beat the 49ers. Like, they're gonna beat the Jets.
So I don't see how they can keep Adam Gase. And I think it ends up being kind of a stomp out game where Myles Gaskin gets a lot of touches in the third and fourth quarter because they're up 2 scores. So he seems like a high floor type of guy. I'm definitely rolling out Myles Gaskin this week.
Love that. Let's see your sit-em running backs.
Yeah, Darrell Henderson against San Fran. I know he got in the end zone twice, right? And I think he finished with like 20 fantasy points. Effectively, he wasn't that great on the ground. Cam Akers looked pretty good. I think we're going to go back into that just gross 3-man rotation that the Rams are kind of intended to use at the beginning of the year before a couple injuries. So I think we're going to see more Cam Akers this week than Henderson, honestly. They have a tough matchup against San Fran. Does San Fran roll over and kind of let them rub their belly? I don't know. I don't know the makeup of the 49ers currently. They had a tough loss, so it's going to be interesting to see how the 49ers bounce back, but I'm not playing Henderson just because of the opportunity. Feels like it's going to be limited. And I'm also sitting Melvin Gordon against the Patriots. 2 weeks for Bill Belichick to prepare for a team is never good for that team. And he loves taking out the best offensive weapon on every team he plays, and I think that's Melvin Gordon. I think they're going to limit Gordon. I don't see really any other weapons making a huge splash. I'm going to touch on that in a little bit. But I can't happily start Melvin Gordon this week.
My sit running backs, I'm going to start off with Damien Harris versus Denver. Sony Michel is certainly an IR, but I could see this as trickery. This is a Rex Burkhead game, right? Like
little tomfoolery. I mean,
this is certainly a Rex Burkhead game, or like it's not a James White on the ground game, but they want to get Damien Harris involved.
Right.
And he's going to see his carries, but I think they're going to get ramped up. He went over 100 yards his first game back, which was great. Very good upside and whatnot. But I'm just kind of playing that wait and see game just one more week. If he pops off this week, he's probably going to my starting lineup as my flex running back every week because I think Damien Harris is really good. There's a lot of talks about him in the offseason. Came out his first game of the season and did really well. So I'm not going to shove him right in my lineup, but I'm going to watch one more week. If he does well, puts 2 games together good in a row, putting him back in my starting lineup. My second sit running back, Mark Ingram against the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles are good against the run. They are low-key good against the run. Yeah, there you go, Ryan. Here, pat yourself on the
That's
back.
it's a
The birds,
small.
the birds are
Small,
good against the run, all right? They're good against the
you know,
run. And Mark Ingram has only seen more than 11 carries one time this year. Only top 57 yards one time. That's not good. This backfield is a mess. There's no J.K. Dobbins emergence. There's no Mark Ingram's this savvy veteran getting his workload. There's nothing. Lamar Jackson doesn't look the same. The offense looks weird. It looks weird right now. And until it looks more like last year, you can't trust Mark Ingram because Mark Ingram worked in the offense like last year. He was that veteran presence that made the offense go. Lamar Jackson did his thing, and then when they needed Mark Ingram to do his thing, he did his thing. And none of that's happening right now. So I'm putting Mark Ingram on my bench until I see a string of good games. That's my thing. String of good games, back on the starting lineup. So moving on to the wide receivers. I am starting John Brown for the Buffalo Bills against the Kansas City Chiefs. Whoa, we just saw the Raiders take down the Chiefs. We saw Henry Ruggs get going. We saw Waller. We saw Nelson Aguilar, ex-Eagle, pat on the back. And John Brown, he's going to be sneaky. Diggs is going to be a great play, but I think John Brown is going to be able to take the top off the defense, just like Diggs will be able to. But I think they're going to have that Chiefs secondary is struggling, and I think they're going to exploit him. I think Josh Allen's going to throw the ball deep, and one of these guys are going to catch the ball, and I'm thinking it's John Brown. So I'm putting John Brown in my starting lineup. I'm also starting Jamison Crowder against Miami. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is: Sam Darnold, Joe Flacco, Mark Sanchez. What's that one?
Showtime Mark's coming back.
Yeah, he's coming back.
Pennington
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter. Jamison Crowder is the top target in this offense. He's going to see a lot of volume. He's going to get it done, and he's sneaky fast. Like he's going to get it done. The volume alone makes him a great play against Miami. Miami certainly played a very good game against the 49ers. They're going against the Jets. The Jets are going to have to do something, and I think Jamison Crowder is their best weapon. I don't think Miami necessarily has what it takes to take out a team's best weapon like Bill Belichick can do. So I like Jamison Crowder this week. The volume alone, the garbage time, it's going to come. Joe Flacco's going to be feeding him balls all garbage time, all second half. It's coming. So I like Jamison Crowder. Who's starting at wide receiver? Ryan.
I'm starting with Laviska Shenualt against Detroit. It seemed like they wanted to make him a gadget guy, and they realized he's a really good wide receiver. He didn't have any carries last week, but his targets have been increasing since week one. I think they're starting to realize that if you get him in space, good things are going to happen. I really like him as a flex play in a week where there's a couple of teams on buys, and he could get in the end zone. Honestly, I really think he's trending upwards. This is kind of where rookie wide receivers start to look great, and I wasn't big on him before the draft and really after the draft, but everything he's shown on tape in the NFL shows that he can play. I was afraid he was going to be, a Brashad Perriman type of guy, but it's not the case at all. He's a true wide receiver, and I really like to see what he's going to do this week. I'm also starting another wide receiver. It's a stack of the quarterback wide receiver. I'm starting Justin Jefferson against the Falcons. I mean, Adam Thielen is a top 3 wide receiver play, and Justin Jefferson has a chance to be like a top 10. That's how bad this Falcons defense is. There's really not a whole lot else you can say. I just think it's a very safe play, and he's going to at least put up wide receiver 2 numbers.
All right, continuing on the Atlanta Bashing podcast, give us your sit wide receivers, Ryan.
This is now I'm going to bash my own fantasy team, and I understand all of the fun tidbits you put out there about Ben Roethlisberger and how he's going to look good this week against Cleveland. Dude, I'm sitting Diontae Johnson. He
can't trust him.
I can't trust him.
He's not healthy,
Steve. And will we know his back is healthy? They'll tell me his back's healthy. But like the guy that came in and took his targets scored 4 times. Like, I don't think you just all of a sudden stop throwing to Chase Claypool next week because Diontae Johnson is 85%. It's tough because Diontae Johnson, the first couple of weeks looked legit, and he's had a couple injuries since then. He's left games with 0.9 yards and I think it was 0.8 yards. Or no, he had 1 catch for -2 yards since I played a PPR league. Mm-hmm. He had 0.8 points. So it's been just a fantasy suicide for your fantasy team with Diontae Johnson in your lineup. Does that mean I don't? He's a talented wide receiver. Like I would kill for him to be on the Eagles, but I just can't trust him, Steve. You can't keep going back to the girl who's cheated on you, and that's what I'm doing this week with Diontae Johnson.
Whoa.
Listen.
Hey, life advice is a fancy football show. All right, move on.
Listen.
We don't want to get it off your chest. Come on, who's
you
your
know,
second set? Come on.
Jerry Jeudy against the Patriots. It's a tough defense. Stephon Gilmore is going to be shadowing him if he's healthy. Once again, 2 weeks for Belichick. It's a no-brainer. Like, Brett Rippon's probably starting again. Like I'm starting for the Broncos at quarterback. Like Brett Rippon does nothing for me.
Moving on to my sit wide receivers, I'm starting with Brandin Cooks against Tennessee. What has Brandin Cooks done you before lately? Nothing. Last week, fantastic game. He did exactly what we all wanted him to do the first 4 weeks of the season, at least once, and we got none of that. So certainly, if you own Brandin Cooks, this is great for your fantasy team. You certainly maybe found a wide receiver 3, possibly wide receiver 2, if the volume stands around. But I don't know if I'm going to go point chasing this week against Tennessee. Tennessee's a pretty good defense against receivers, and I kind of want to see it happen again. That's the theme of all my plays this week. Is let me see it twice. Brandin Cooks comes out and has 5-6 catches, goes over 75. I feel pretty good about that. His role in the offense has changed now that Bill O'Brien's gone. So I like Brandin Cooks whenever he does it just one more time. But certainly if you got him, feel good about it. I'm also sitting Deebo Samuel against the Rams. Man, the 49ers looked like trash last week. And I cannot trust Jimmy G or any of these other quarterbacks that the 49ers are rolling out there. They have to run the ball. That's their forte. They got to run the ball early. They got to get up. And I don't see Deebo Samuel being such a big part of that. Maybe he'll get a carry out of the backfield, but he's not the same player we saw at the end of the year last year. So maybe his injuries kind of creeping up on him a little bit, but just the quarterback alone isn't going to give him the opportunity. Jimmy G looked bad. He's injured. These other quarterbacks, they're not good. I'm staying away from this situation until it becomes right. Until we see the Deebo we saw last year. Right now, he's not startable in your fantasy football lineup. Let's go ahead and move on to the start tight ends. And I'm going with big Jonnu Smith against Houston. This guy's a tank, and I can't wait to watch him play tonight. Once again, we're recording on Tuesday. There's a game tonight between the Buffalo Bills and the Tennessee Titans. Hoping Jonnu just went off, so everyone's got him in their starting lineup for next week, and it makes this pick look great. Jonnu is a big part of this offense. A.J. Brown is certainly back, but I think Jonnu Smith's the second best target in that offense for Ryan Tannehill. You got Corey Davis. You got Adam Humphries. I think Jonnu Smith is a much better weapon than those guys. So I like Jonnu Smith going against Houston. I also like TJ Hockenson against Jacksonville. Jacksonville just gave up a pretty big touchdown to Darren Fells. The second tight end, maybe Jordan Akins, whatever one we're talking about in Houston. He was out. Darren Fells had a big touchdown. I think TJ Hockenson is going to come out of this bye week booming. Kenny Galladay's there. Matt Stafford, top 10 quarterback this week, is going to throw a touchdown to TJ Hockenson. It's going to be fantastic. Can't wait to watch it. Love TJ Hockenson this week against Jacksonville. Who are you starting at tight end?
Yeah. So this is my weekly I hate my football team pick. I'm starting Mark Andrews against the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, George Kittle, I think he just caught another pass. I think, what was it, 15 for like 180 and a touchdown when the Eagles played.
It was like 40 fantasy points.
Disgusting. They let Eric Ebron be relevant. They let Tyler Higbee score 3 times, and that was the last time we saw Tyler Higbee on a football field. Because, if you have started Tyler Higbee in the last couple weeks, like I have, MIA. But Mark Andrews is going to absolutely annihilate the Philadelphia Eagles. If Nate Gary covers him one time, he's going to score an 80-yard touchdown. That's just how it's going to be, and that's what I got to live with.
Is Philly the new Arizona this year?
I think we are.
It's trending. It's trending.
It's very close.
Okay.
Because they sell out for the run. The tight end does the fake block thing, and then like somebody slow and unathletic covers the tight end. I don't understand the defense, but here we are.
Just want to check.
Yeah, and I'm doing a little fun thing here because tight ends are a weird play now. I don't know why. I felt great about tight ends coming into the year, but since then I felt terrible.
Every year people are like, best tight end class ever.
Exactly. And this one, we're doing a little Dalton to Dalton, Andy Dalton to Dalton Schultz against the aforementioned Arizona Cardinals. I don't know why. I just feel good about Andy Dalton finding somebody that's not too far away from him. So I think Dalton Schultz could see 6 targets or so. And in the landscape of tight ends, if you don't have Kittle or Kelsey, and that's it, really, and Waller, you'll take 5 targets because if you're starting guys like Tyler Higbee or Hayden Hurst or Austin Hooper, you feel pretty good about it.
Dalton Schultz, the new Tyler Eifert for Andy Dalton. Moving on to the sit tight ends. I will start this one off. I'm cutting you off.
That's fine.
Because you mentioned him. Tyler Higbee against San Francisco. We can't trust this guy, man. He came off that 3-touchdown game against Philly, and he has dropped down in targets, below 4 targets the last 2 games, or receptions. Not great for Tyler Higbee. Gerald Everett has looked more involved than ever. Not what we like to see. I don't know exactly what's going on in that offense, but we cannot, you invested high in Tyler Higbee. You got to look at the waiver wire, see if there's anything else, someone who's getting more volume, more secure target volume, someone else, because we don't know what Tyler Higbee right now. And going against San Francisco, there's still a good defense. Mike Gesicki had a great day against them, but I don't know if I'm just going to keep throwing Tyler Higbee out there after 2 pretty bust weeks. And then another guy you mentioned, Austin Hooper, had a good game last week going against Pittsburgh, pairing him with my Baker Mayfield sit. Austin Hooper is going to be tough to predict every week probably, but this week should be easy to predict. I don't think he's going to have a good game against Pittsburgh. Zach Ertz, what happened to you last week? Nothing. So if maybe they're good against the tight end, probably not. But Austin Hooper is not going to have a great week. So you're sit tight ends.
Yeah, this one hurts for everyone that spent decent fab on him, but I got to sit Big Bobby Tonyan.
No.
I got to. Adams should be back, I'd assume. I mean, he was very angry he didn't get to play last week. So I would assume he plays this week, or he might just delete his Twitter permanently because he put a couple tweets out that he had to delete. And they're playing Tampa Bay. Great linebacking core. Great run-stopping defense. And Tonyan's going to have to block, or they're going to have to find somebody else who can block. So I don't expect high volume for Tonyan. Which is unfortunate because, great showing last week, but don't put him in your line of expecting 3 touchdowns. I'm sorry. And also, another guy that you're like, maybe he's back. No, he's not back. I'm not starting Jimmy Graham either. I know he caught that sweet touchdown.
One-handed. He used to play basketball. Did you know that? Did you know that?
I did hear that in passing, yes, that Jimmy Graham played basketball. But I can't start Jimmy Graham in good faith, even though my tight end is Tyler Higbee, and I will be scouring the waiver wire.
Oh, man. Those tight end picks, those are rough. It's rough out there, guys. Stay safe. Well, there you have it. Your starts at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. Kind of iffy on the tight end. For week 6, hopefully these help you get a fantasy football victory in week 6. That's what we want. If you like the show today, drop a comment first. We want to help you out first. And then come back up to the top, like the video. It helps us get noticed. And subscribe to the channel if you're a big fan. Like I said, we're on the road to 1,000. We want to hit that. Giveaway coming when we get to 1,000. If you stuck around this long, you're going to know. Come back for the giveaway. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.